On this episode, we want to give a shout out to Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Park. We love this park. When we were deciding to do dad walks, we knew this was the park we wanted to go to. They've got lakes, they've got playgrounds, they've got baseball fields, they've got it all. You've got to check out Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Park. Welcome to another episode of the Nashville Dads. This week we have on songwriter Mason Douglas. We talk daycare, working from home, writing songs, Garth Brooks, and basketball. We hope you enjoy. That's fine. You're just here to be pretty, Justin.
You're here for the logo and the looks.
That's right.
Just the aesthetic.
And messaging me and be like, hey, did you do that yet, Devin? I'm like, oh, yeah.
We also need a badass beard around here.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Somebody's got to have the beard.
My beard turns blonde. Like, my mustache turns blonde. It like starts changing colors after a certain
So it
length.
looks like you have no mustache.
It looks like a caterpillar died on my upper lip. That's pretty much what it looks like. So there's a certain level of beardage where I'm like, I gotta cut it off right now because this doesn't turn out well.
Mine's getting more.
But like, I have like the darkest hair possible.
I'm
like
half redhead.
Okay, yeah, right. You're just like, the hell is this, right?
The salt is overpowering the pepper in mine now, so I'm like, oh man, I got to keep it. I got to start. I haven't shaved in like 30 years, and like it's always been scruff and a little bit of shadow, and now I'm like, oh god, it's getting too white. It's getting too gray.
Yep.
I'm gonna be hoing here with kids in my lap in about 10 years. Damn.
Now, when did it start to turn gray, or when did you notice it started to turn gray?
Probably about 4 years ago. I was like, okay, it's getting a little.
Oh, okay.
It ain't as dark as it used to be. And
Mine was basically from Ada.
Was that it? Yeah.
I was brown, and then as soon as I had Ada, I started getting that gray.
See, what's great is just be 6'4", and no one can see your gray hairs on the top of your head. That's
There you
really
go.
because I have them. They're up there.
They're just looking up the nose.
Yeah,
hairs.
exactly. Yeah. But like my wife will be like, I'll like bend down to tie a kid's shoe or something. Like she's like, "Oh, you have gray hairs," and I'm like, "I know. You know, they've been there the entire time."
Thanks for telling me.
I don't care though. Like, okay, do you go by Mason or Doug?
It's up to you. So we're here in
yeah.
Nashville.
I know Doug.
Yeah. So that's the crazy thing. I moved here as Doug, and it was Doug Huff. But when I got to a couple interviews for my music, didn't know how to pronounce my last name, which is Huff, Hough. So they would say Doug Hug, Dow How,
Hugh or something like
Hugh,
that.
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. And so Doug Huff sounds kind of like a dry heave. I always put it like Doug Huff. So I thought, man, I need a stage name. I had a friend back in Tucson who she changed her name, and she's always gone by her stage name. So I called her, said, how do you do it? She goes, you just tell your friends one day, and then you set a date, and then you own it. And so after that, it was October 31st of 2006, maybe right around there, because it was a Halloween show, and I dressed up for Halloween, and it was the giant Mason Douglas first show as Mason Douglas, but it was Halloween, so I came dressed up as like a leather biker.
Nice.
And everybody's like, so is this the new look too? I was like, oh no, I didn't even think about that. No, it's just the name, man. I had to do a cool name. And
Just had it in the closet.
so, but yeah, it's hilarious because now it's second nature. But my wife met me as Mason, and then she had to get used to the real name.
Yeah.
And people on stage who knew me long before, or call me Doug behind the scenes, because a lot of people do, and they're like, "Hey, Doug, what's up?" But on stage they'll be like, "And Doug over there." I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah.
So it gets confusing. My mom won't even. My mom hasn't called me Mason the entire time, and then she. She saw something, one of my media things, and she goes, "Hey, that looks great, Mason." And I'm like, "Oh, that just feels so weird." I'm like, icky, don't do that, Mom. I'm like, "Stop
it, Mom.
You're not allowed to call me that. That's crazy." But
Comments hidden just from this one person.
And Mason is your middle?
Nothing. It's a street in Laverne. I was living out in Laverne for back when I first moved here, and it was Mason's Road, Mason Circle, Mason Street. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And somebody said, how about Doug Mason? And I thought that sounded too much like Doug Stone. So I was like, what about Mason Douglas?
Yeah, let's reverse it.
And there weren't many Masons at that time. Now it's like the super cool, 13-year-old name.
Okay. You were the
guys and
original.
girls.
You were the OG.
But, one of the OGs, yeah.
Nice.
So at least enough where I could go by my first name and they knew who they were talking about. And now it's like, Mason who? And I'm like, yeah, that's about right. So.
I'm still going to call you Doug.
That's fine. That's all
I mean,
good.
until you change it in your phone to Mason instead. That's whenever.
I won't.
I'm going to find your phone
holding-
later and
Nope.
change it, and then you'll just be confused.
Well, I got a question. Who still has their wife in their phone by their maiden name?
Oh, I don't.
You don't? Oh,
No.
No,
I do.
I changed it like halfway through, like 3 years
Did you?
Of being married?
Yeah.
Or knowing her?
of being married.
Oh.
Wow, okay.
We got married, and then we both, we went to Belmont, and we got married, and we're like, we should probably get Nashville numbers. So we both got Nashville numbers whenever we got married.
Gotta look
so
legit,
it was kind of
yeah.
like, all right, so I never put her in as her maiden name,
Ah,
basically. So, yeah.
Yeah, Kim's still in there under her maiden name, and somebody else has her that as well. And
Yeah.
just like it's tough to change. It'd be weird if I saw her with her married name on there. I'm like,
Do you guys still have the old phone numbers?
Oh yeah, we still have our original one, so we've never had to change it and go in and manipulate it all.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
feel like it felt different, like, because that would have been like a decade ago. I feel like now it's like, yeah, you just have your old zip code and everything, and area code and all, or old area code. It's different. I don't know. Decade ago, my wife and I were both like, oh, yeah, we're Nashville people, so we've lived here already for like 6 years or so. We should probably go and change the name, change the number, all that.
That's the first thing they tell you moving to town as a musician is you get your Nashville phone number,
Yeah.
look legit, and you get a Nashville mailing address, even if you're not living here. But you go to the post office, get you
Oh,
in
okay.
Nashville, and you get it. This one right down the road here at the whatever it is, right by the. Oh man, that
Green
one
Hills?
37212 is what the
Okay.
it is. But you get that green or that Music Row. That's what you want. You
Oh,
want
cool.
one-
Yeah, yeah.
You want the Music Row zip code on there, and then you go get your driver's license too, and then you will be legit. So
Okay.
those are your 3 instructions if you're moving here.
Why have that address?
Because if you're living out in Smyrna or something, but and people are sending you music, you're sending them music, you want it to look like an actual like legit Music Row business rather than Smyrna, Tennessee. Kind of deal.
Okay.
Not that
Okay.
there's anything wrong with Smyrna, but for a musician or from in the music biz, you're gonna look a whole lot more Music Row with a Music Row address than you will with the Smyrna.
One is
address.
historically known for decades as
Yeah.
working in the music business
Exactly.
industry. One is a suburb people mispronounce.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Smyrna is
Smyrna.
definitely.
Smyrna.
I remember going Smyrna, and the lady just laughing at me over the phone, and I'm like, "What is
I
it?
don't know, man. Smyrna? I
Is this a
don't
hard
know.
Y? Oh.
What kind of gibberish is this?"
Does that still? I feel like anymore now. Like, I guess the question I should ask: do you? I feel like my knowledge of people making music anymore, it might be like I record a track, I Dropbox you the file for the track, you add your part to the track, then you send it back to me. So would like a physical mailing address matter as much anymore?
Sometimes, not
Okay.
really.
But like a
everything is
decade ago,
so,
it did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not too long ago, it did. But now, even after just getting all your files and contracts, and the digital signature is now legitimate, and they've legalized that. et cetera. So
Send it to the cloud.
you don't. It's actually a pain in the butt. I still have my post office box, but when somebody says, "Hey, I'm mailing you this package and contract," I'm like, oh, I gotta go all the way to my post office box now. And, okay.
Where's that key at? I think it's here
I know,
somewhere.
Jeez, man.
You go there, and it's just piled up.
So yeah, oh totally. It's been like it took me 2 months to get here, and I guess I got to catch this and got to return this, and IRS again. All right,
Yeah,
guess
right,
I'll, and that one got lost. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I don't know if you listened to like the Postal Service whenever they came out, like 20 years ago or so, but they were called the Postal Service because they didn't live in the same town. So they record a track and physically mail it to each other back
cool.
and forth. So they named themselves the Postal Service because that's how they made their music.
Hell yeah, that's cool.
So very different than like I could literally go home and record a guitar track and text it to you later.
oh yeah, exactly.
Like, so it's a very different world 20 years later.
That's awesome. They
Yeah.
physically, wow. What were they using? Were they using
I
DAT
don't
or
remember. It was. I mean, I'm sure they recorded to like
loading
a
up their
hard drive.
CD,
Yeah, it was
Pro
probably
Tools
it
sessions
was
and
probably a Pro
CD.
Tools session that they recorded to a disc
man,
and
that's
then
wild.
mailed it. So
super cool? Huh?
it was at the early aughts, man.
Yeah,
it was
and they're
a
like,
different time.
look at this technology. We don't even have to be together.
Really though, they were. Yeah, I think they're going on tour right now because it's like the 20th anniversary, and they're like, how do we perform these songs live? Because it's kind of just like a track, and like usually you weren't here to sing it. So how's this work? So
We had I do that all the time, just in the recording industry that I do, but send tracks off and people sing and send me back stuff. But
Yeah.
my old band, I was in a pop rock band back in around 2006 or so, or actually 2000 to 2006, and we played like Murfreesboro and Third and Lindsley, and just were covering that market, kind of Train, County Crows, but we went on a hiatus back in 2006, never officially broke up, although people moved away and nobody's in town anymore. But we decided to record a song that we used to play live. We never recorded it. So I'm like, hey guys, let's, started texting. Let's get these.
Yeah.
One number was dead. It was like, hey, this is not your friend anymore. I'm like, oh, I wonder where he's at.
But this song sounds great, but can you please leave me off the text chain?
Exactly. I'm like, let's track this thing. So we got the drummer to do it at his place. He sent me over the drum tracks and threw on some guitar, and then threw it over the guitarist out in near Memphis, and then sent it to everywhere we could, and came back and released the song, and we had a kind of release 15 years after we went on hiatus, and it was a blast, and never had to set foot in the room with anybody at all. So
What's the name?
the song was called Happy New Year, and
Happy
it
New
was the band was Blue Morning, but it was a good time. Good experiment to get through and to kind of put out something new with us.
Jordan Tepper did tell me that you do a great Counting Crows impersonation of the lead singer.
Yeah. Oh, Jordan was at a lot of Blue Morning shows.
Was he really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, he was there because he was tied into the Ryan Michaels, who was.
Yep.
We would play in, and our guitarist and Ryan were.
So you guys
roommates.
knew each other prior to the Dad Walk?
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah, Jordan messaged us that day. They was like, "Oh, you're having Doug on. He's a good dude. Ask him about his Counting Crows impersonation."
So 20 years back on him. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh yeah, I still love Counting Crows. The early stuff gets me much harder than the later stuff does. Later stuff's been a little missing for me, but
I mean that's most like pop bands from the '90s and early you're like, oh, how much of this is really good music, or that I was young and I really loved this stuff?
Yeah,
I don't know. Is it nostalgia? Is it them or is it me? I'm never sure what the problem is here.
Yeah, but I've tried. I want so bad on Counting Crows. I want to listen to that new one and whatever they put out and just be like, oh, this is it. They finally got there. And I haven't quite found it yet.
Yeah.
I'm still like Hard Candy was about the last album that I was like, this is amazing. And then everything after that's been a little
I'm
questionable.
good.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
I feel that way about like Guster. I like Guster a lot.
Yeah.
And they have like 2 or 3 albums where I'm like, I'll listen to these start to finish like any day. That's fine with me. And then I'm like, wait, they have 5 more albums? After that?
Who is Guster?
They were like a Massachusetts band. They were like an indie pop band from like the mid 2000s. You've probably heard their songs but not realized that they were Guster. They're like one of those. They would have been on like a lot of college or alternative radio. The song Amsterdam you've probably heard before.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So I got 2 small little Guster memories just being here in town. So I got to see them at the old 3rd and Lindsley before they busted out the wall, but it used to be in the V formation, and they'd sit in the corner. But I saw so many I saw Train there. I saw Better Than Ezra. But Guster was there, and so I got to see them almost in like 3rd row, just cool, tiny, intimate. Yeah. There's one, and then saw them at the Ryman years later, and they were the only band I've ever seen who completely unplugged. And they just stood at the front of the stage and sang a cappella with just their acoustic and playing to the crowd.
That's cool.
Jesus on the Radio.
I have no clue what the song was, but
that's normally their thing is to do. I saw them at they played with the orchestra last year.
Oh, cool!
And they did that in which they like unplugged, made the orchestra stop. And that dude's lead singer's I can't think of the lead singer's name, but his voice projects so loud.
You could hear
like
nothing.
And his pitch is like perfect. And you're like, I am 50 yards away from you, and I feel like you're standing directly in front of me. Yeah, that's very impressive.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so such amazing. So every time Guster comes up, I'm like, oh, guess what I got to do? Guess what I got to do? You weren't there, but it was really cool.
But it was really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Anyway, dad life. How many kids you got?
Yeah. One kid. One
child.
He is awesome rock star. But yeah, we just turned 2 3 months ago.
Cool.
So we're in that phase. Justin knows all about that.
So we all have a kid who's about the same age. My third is 2. He's born in September of 21.
Okay, yeah. We were August.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
But
Decker.
Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah. I call him Decker. That's his name, Decker.
Ada's in the same class.
Okay, cool.
And we usually would pick our kids up around the same time, and we just kind of started talking. And then 5 months ago, 3 months ago, somewhere in between there, I said, oh, yeah, I've got a podcast.
By the way.
Yeah. And we do a dad walk. And I remember him, Doug, saying, I've been talking to you for how long, and you're just now telling me?
So, it goes back even deeper, though, because you asked about having a kid. Well, I got started late. Kim and I had Declan I was 45 when he popped out. Okay. So, that's 40. I tell everybody it's 45 years of getting used to a certain lifestyle, and not knowing wanting kids, but not knowing if you're going to have them, and just you get things going in a, like I said, very comfortable pattern and way of life. And then this child comes along, and no matter how many books you read, no matter how many things you hear, stories you tell, until you're in it, then you have no clue what's coming for you.
Nothing.
And you're sitting there, and there are times when you're crying because you're so happy that this kid is here. But then there's times you're taking him to the doctor first thing in the morning, ear infections, having to give him medicine, and you're like, what is going on? How can I do this? So, so I was going through all those for the first year. It was still a blur to me. I look at pictures and I know I was there. I still remember it, but it was such a foggy blur.
Yep.
And plus emotionally, and I was also looking for any outlet. I was talking to my buddies, but they got hits in high school. They're like, oh yeah, that'll pass, man. You're fine. So I the whole time I was like, man, and I looked for dad groups. I looked for.
We're bad at marketing. I'm sorry, man. That's on us.
There was
I did not want to be.
I didn't want to come on strong.
I didn't want to be that guy. Like, hey, I've got a podcast.
You're a father. I am also a father with a podcast.
Yeah. Well, there's one group that met like a playground on Tuesdays. I'm like, that's not going to work because he's already in daycare, and just went on forever and ever. Like, and I eventually got out of the fog lifted, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. 18 months, Declan all of a sudden becomes a new kid. And, you get past the baby stage and whole new life, and I'm like, this is great. Okay. And then along comes Justin saying, hey, I got this podcast. So I go back and listen to all the early episodes when I was in my fog of the first year, and he's in the same thing. I'm like, Justin was there the whole time, and we never talked about it.
But also, if you guys would, like, in that fog, you would have been like, hey, Justin, are you still tired from your week? And you both would have looked at each other and been like, yeah, I'm pretty exhausted.
But you also you're like, do I want to say that to a stranger? Like,
oh yeah.
Do I want to be that vulnerable?
That's why I was into. But if I knew there was somebody else who was in his class, and they were both Ada and Declan are out at the same time with the same sicknesses, the same thing. So I know we were going through the same stuff. We could have been like, dude, what's up?
Is it Declan? Is that your kid's name?
Yeah.
Was he sick a lot his first year also, like Ada is?
Just the normal stuff. Okay. But he was very susceptible to the ear infections. He was one of those where, and which was fine. I took a little bit heavier than probably he did. He was okay. He dealt with it just fine. But I was like, he's got another ear infection. I just wanted to get it done. And then the surgery kept getting put off, and this and that. And it was just we finally got him in. Minute we put those tubes in after the screaming, he all of a sudden lit up, energy. He could hear. He started talking more, and you could just notice the difference. But that was the big thing, was the ear infections, and otherwise the normal stuff with the daycare cooties, and I remember just thinking, man, how can I keep all these daycare cooties away? You can't. Let him get them.
She got
unless you
sick.
quit your job.
Like the third day she was there, got sick.
Oh yeah,
and then never was the same.
You can't get on top of it.
No.
Like ever.
Because she got sick, then Haley got sick, then I got sick, and then it just went back to Ada getting sick, and it was just constant for like at least 12 months.
Well, I thought you would try, like, wouldn't you, like, you and Haley would, like, one of you would go sleep in a separate room, right?
Yeah.
Like, I thought you guys would be like, you would actually utilize your guest room.
We would try our best.
Yeah. Heather and I are just like, man, we're going to get sick anyway. Fucking just sleep together. Sleep
now
in the
we're
same
there.
Bed.
I was usually always the last one to get sick. And it was like, Haley's just now getting better.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, we're getting over this. And then like a day or two later, I end up coming down.
Yeah.
Hand, foot, mouth, COVID, bronchitis, everything you can think of.
That was just yesterday.
Yeah. Exactly. Last week. Yeah. That's part of that first year fog too, because I was sick all the time.
Yes.
I sing for a living, so
if
I got sick, I was like, and I'd have to push back projects. I'm like, I need another 3 weeks to get my voice back. Yeah. And then another thing would come. I'd be taking all the snot medicine and everything, and then he'd get another one. Like, no, it's back again. Yeah. Nowadays, we see something come over the little sprout about it. It's like a hand, foot, mouth. We're like, that's easy. RSV. Oh, okay. We've already done that a couple times. And COVID, no problem.
Have
We're way
you
good
had
there,
hand, foot, mouth?
Yes, I had it that first time right about when you did, but I didn't get hit at all. It gave me a little bit of
That's
throat,
right. I remember you telling me that.
I lucked out on that. Yeah,
I got hit hard.
Yeah,
that was probably worse than the flu.
Yeah,
I was worried. I had heard those stories about people who had the same reaction you did, and I was like, oh God, here we go. But, luckily, I did all right. No problem.
I think I've told Justin this whenever he was going through it, of like, your brain literally, it's like everything's so new and everything feels so big and important
that you're like, your brain has no idea how to function with it because like you haven't gone through it before. So you're like, oh my God, my kid has a sickness. What's going to happen? And then like the next time your brain's like, remember last time? Like you have no base of knowledge. And any book you read is like, these are symptoms. And you're like, but what the hell does that mean? They have a fever. Cool. So why are they still screaming? Well, I don't know.
Let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And I laugh at all the parents now who are like, oh, yeah, well, we're keeping our kids home until, not putting them in daycare or anything. We're just going to keep them home until kindergarten. I'm like, you're in for it. Declan's going to be kicking some butt, but you are screwed, man. So happy that we're finally kind of past all that stuff now.
I stay home with our youngest, but we have 2 older kids who are in school.
Bringing
so like I'm like,
home,
man, like he's gonna be
He's
sick.
gonna get
like,
it.
He's fine.
You're like, you're sick? Come lick his cheek real quick. Okay, cool.
Basically, yes. So.
That's and then the other thing is I'm kind of thinking about, I've written a couple books, one of which you have there, but I'm thinking about my next one being just my story of work from home father, because it's not even a stay at home, but I also have a business that I'm trying to run while also being a dad, and again, when something happens, then my schedules is the easiest to manipulate and kind of control. So kind of a lot of it falls on me, but I'm not too sure a lot of dads, upcoming dads, understand that when they get into the new dads, I guess. When they get to that stage, and if they're working from home, which a lot of people do now, what that entails. And there's all sorts of people saying, I guess not all sorts, I've seen it before, but Kim laughs at me because I was saying, yeah, I'll be working from home, Declan could just be home, and he'll be sleeping, and I'll be working, which sometimes includes recording guitars and tracking and stuff, and it never happened one time. I was like, we need daycare now. Yeah. We have 1 day. Okay, cool. I will cram everything that day. We need 2 days. Yeah. We need 3 days. It just, it never was enough. So, I think that's my next book project, is to kind of outline what I learned from being a work from home dad with a new kid.
Heck,
first timer.
I'll read it.
First timer. Yeah.
And what's this book all about?
Oh, I have brought you some secret Nashville. I'm a huge pop culture nerd. I love like filming locations and where weird stuff happened. Like businesses were born, garages that stuff happened, where people were killed, songs were written, all that kind of stuff. So I wrote a first book called Now You Know Nashville. I self-published that one, and then wrote this one. This was by a publisher. They said, hey, want to write this one? I said, sure. So brought you that. But it's just kind of, a guide to the weird, wonderful, and obscure parts of Nashville called Secret Nashville. And a nice book to have in your coffee table, check out. And some stuff you may have known, other stuff that you may be like, that's BS. And other stuff that's like, ooh, that's really cool.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, so check that out. So
I had no idea that you wrote.
Yeah, that's,
this whole time we've been talking, you never told me about that.
Justin, would you like to have my book?
Yeah.
Published. Oh, yeah, watch out. I'm working on an app now. That's my next thing. I've been talking to some companies, so we got an app based on that info, but also the original Now You Know Nashville, which has like 600 Nashville sites of all kinds of crazy crap that you wish you knew and never knew you didn't know. Yeah. So that's coming. If anybody knows any good marketing teams and people, let me know, because that'll be my next step, is figuring out how to market the app to the tourists and the residents here. So
heck yeah.
If anybody volunteers, let me know. Not volunteers, but is up for hire, let me know.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself more of like a musician or an entrepreneur? Because you record music, you write books, like just anything creative you're intrigued by?
I think they're just kind of side passion projects. You know, they kind of like distractions from music. I'm definitely a musician first and foremost. That's my main thing. And even more, I used to want to be a performer, used to want to fly across Texas Stadium, but then that eventually turned into songwriting. And so now I think even further the subset of musician. I'm more of a songwriter first, then probably a singer, and then a producer, and then after that a guitarist. Guitarist is way down the line, but I get through.
If you need a guitar track, I can do it, but there's some other guys if you want.
Yeah, exactly. You find the right people, and then about 3 seconds later they got everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
There. Crazy. I had a client over just a couple days ago, and he's like, "Hey, can you just do the solo thing?" I'm like, "Dude, it takes me like 15 minutes to do 2 bars just to piece together." And he's like, "That's fine, just do it." So I had to sit there and piece together, and I was so embarrassed. But I'm like, "Well, this is the way it goes, man."
You asked for me.
I was like, "I'm not a shredder. I can send it to my shred guys if you want to, but not me." But otherwise, you just get, after enough songs and enough time in the studio, you find stuff that interests you. And these books, for instance. They all came from songwriting. The first one came from writing with a guy named Kent Blasey. He wrote If Tomorrow Never Comes, Ain't Going Down Till the Sun Comes Up, a lot of Garth Brooks stuff.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
These huge, giant songs that are just worldwide phenom songs. He was like, oh, yeah, I wrote If Tomorrow Never Comes in this house right behind the Bluebird on Warfield, and that's where
cool.
I introduced Garth to Trisha, and they'd sing demos right there. And I'm like, hold on a second. This same house is where If Tomorrow Never Comes was written, and Garth was introduced to Trisha Yearwood. He's like, yeah, right in that house. I'm like, where is this? So he gave me the address. I'm like, this is awesome. What else do you got? And so he's gave me some other places, and a couple other writers like, oh yeah, I wrote, had the idea for Chattahoochee in the attic of that house right there.
That's cool.
One of my favorites is right there on 8th, right down the road from Zany's, 8th and Wedgwood. There's a computer repair, Z something right there. And in the attic is where Roy Orbison wrote Pretty Woman.
Seriously?
If you look in that attic up there. He said, I was sitting in that room and I looked down and I happened to see a pretty woman walk across the street. So I started this little lick and wrote the song Pretty Woman in that attic. So stuff like that. You're like, oh my God, that's absolutely amazing. So I spent a year and a half just asking anybody and everybody I could, researching, doing internet stuff, and asking my writer buddies, singer buddies, got all sorts of studio information, and again, just like where it all went down. A lot of stuff that I couldn't print, which is kind of fun too.
Yeah, of course.
And the weird part, even on that first book, 600 locations, and barely scratched the surface. There's so many tens, if not hundreds of thousands of spots and stories that are just either hopefully not lost to time, but are sitting out there in somebody's brain they don't realize is completely fascinating to a certain sector of people like me going, oh my God, that's where that happened.
Nice.
Dang. So I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
What's the craziest story that you've heard?
Craziest story that I've heard. Well, a lot of the murder ones are all kind of crazy because it's just all
Because it's murder?
Yeah, because somebody just snaps and decides to kill somebody right there.
Well, that just tried to happen in our neighborhood now.
Yeah, it did. No,
Well, yeah, welcome to Nashville.
it did happen on our street.
Watch out, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
The quote from
never
the guy
good.
was like an 81-year-old man who stabbed his daughter in his front yard.
That was right by you guys?
That's right, bus.
Oh,
down
yeah,
the
I
street
saw that
from
one.
us.
And
Okay.
whenever I drove by
do it again.
Yeah, whenever I was driving by the police line with my kids after I picked them up from school, and I was
man.
like, there wasn't any blood anywhere. So that's good. Didn't have to explain too much.
Oh, wow.
That's
But
hilarious.
I was like, oh, hey. And then I was just like, all right, that's where that happened. All right, keep going.
Yeah.
I was sitting at the dining room table. I had a nurse come to redo my life insurance, and I don't know how many cop cars just flew by. She was like, "Oh, something must be going on." I was like, "Yeah, probably another murder," and it was
Attempted
almost.
murder.
It was
Attempted
almost.
murder.
Yeah, she has
We've
survived.
had 2 murders in 2 months.
She's got to watch out because he'll do it again if he needs to.
Oh man, he's in jail forever, and he's 81 years old.
Yeah. So 3 years.
I feel bad on sirens because Declan loves fire trucks and police cars,
Oh,
as
no.
all boys do. And
Yes.
he's like, "Oh, fire truck." I'm like, "Yeah, but somebody's having a really bad day, man. Oh yeah, there he goes. But let's hope they're okay." And police car, just duck.
Yeah.
So it's one of those torn psyches.
I had like a 3rd grade teacher who the elementary school I went to back in Indiana was next to like a fireplace. So they'd be like every single day. And I had like one teacher who was like, stop and say a prayer.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was like a Lutheran school. So stop, say a quick prayer. All right, now back to the lesson.
Now be excited.
The
Yeah.
reality is do you know why that place is going somewhere so quickly and everyone has to go out of the way? It's not a good day for that person.
Exactly. It didn't really kick in until I think it was Pearl Jam or Eddie Vedder or something. Sirens. Did you ever hear that song?
No.
If you look in the lyrics of that one, you're like, oh my God, that's true. He's talking about how safe he is in his house, but somebody else, when he hears a siren, he's just thankful for the safety and comfort of the girl he's with, and
That's cool.
that it's not him. He's not the one the sirens are coming from, and so I was like, oh man, that's a good little message in there, I guess. It's sad, but, but so now every time I see a fire truck, I'm like, thank God it's not me.
Yeah. Pearl Jam is another one of those bands where I think the last album of theirs I listened to was Yield, which would have been 2001 or something like that.
One of the last great ones.
It's been 20, they've been making music for 20 years still since then.
Yeah.
So I look them up and I'm like, oh, you have 5 other albums I haven't even vaguely looked at. Good for you guys. Good for you guys.
They keep cranking them out.
So much stuff out there now. It's hard to
a bit
keep track.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, though the bands that got on your system when you were young, they're the ones who they have such a high bar to hold up to in your ear that nobody can do it, and they try to reinvent themselves and keep it fresh for them, and sometimes it hits and sometimes it misses.
I mean, it would also be exhausting to go on tour and everyone's like, hey, remember that album you wrote 30 years ago? I don't want to hear anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Okay.
all right, cool.
yeah.
So you want me to sing my teenage poetry for the rest of my life? All right, here we go. This isn't embarrassing at all.
Yep, exactly.
That's like most Garth Brooks concerts, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah.
All of his music from like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
He does 2 new songs, and everything else is the same show that he was doing back in '92. So pretty crazy.
I think-
and then he also releases he repackages all his old albums, sells them again with like one little new CD or EP in there, and you're like, oh god, I got to get this box set just for the EP. Thanks, Garth.
That's how he makes his money.
Here's my $20.
Yeah. I'll always respect Garth because whenever the flood happened in 2010,
Yep.
he did all those shows at Bridgestone where all the proceeds went towards all the flood stuff. And already I was like, Garth, you seem like a good guy. But doing that, I was like, all right, you're a really good dude.
Yeah,
all right, that's
huge.
cool.
That was awesome. Yeah, I was at a couple of those, and yeah, Garth is he's the reason I am in town for sure.
Oh, really?
No question.
Cool.
Yeah, he's my number one.
Have you met him before?
Yeah, I've met him a few times.
Yeah.
I actually got to fire the cannons at Bridgestone. So during Friends in Low Places, got to walk out and right when he's going, and you can kiss my ass. And we all walk out with cannons and fire them off. So 19,000 people screaming at you, and then Garth comes over and high fives me right in the middle of it. I'm like,
That's
I
awesome.
just got to
That's
be
cool.
on the stage with Garth during Friends in Low Places. I'm singing along on stage to Friends in Low Places with Garth, and he high fives me. And there's somebody caught it on film. They got the high five right as it happened, so it's sitting on my wall.
That's
wall
Heck,
in the
yeah,
studio.
that is an awesome memory.
Yeah, so good dude, man. One of the most solid and loyal. The thing I always go back to on Garth is that you look at so many of these artists these days, and a lot of them I've worked with early on, up and coming through as they're on their rise to fame and fortune and glory, and then they tend to forget. They tend to forget who came up there with them, I guess I'll put it that way. And so you see a lot of that happen. You hear a lot of stories. Garth always goes back to his original writers and says, let's make sure we get in the room a few times. I want to make sure you have the best chance of getting on this new project I'm doing. So he gives them all the opportunity. Doesn't always make it. You don't always get the song in there, but he goes back to that core group and says, you got me here. You got first dibs. Let's get something awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
man, you don't find that anymore around this town at all.
Equal opportunity, not equal outcome on that one, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a solid dude.
I feel like he was always really good to his sound guys also, or like his road crew. I feel like I heard he was good to them also.
Yeah,
So.
always. Every time you hear it, it's like the best tour ever been on, and
Treated
consistently.
right. It's very easy to not be someone running sound, you know?
Yep,
So,
exactly.
that is
Yeah, and
good.
also a little bit of a tight ship too. I mean, he's got an empire to run, so he doesn't put up with much either.
No,
You know,
yep.
If you get a couple strikes, and you better make sure you do your job right. Put
I
it
would
that
also
way.
think, though, if I was working for Garth Brooks, and that would be like, all right, I need to bring my A game because if I get in with this guy, I'm going to be good for a while.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
You bring your A+ every time, and he will make sure you're taken care of.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dude,
Makes sense. Yeah.
We went to Bridgestone, me and Haley, 2017, and man, it was crazy. It was just as fun as Dave Matthews.
Dude, what show did you go to?
God, I don't remember.
You just went to Bridgestone?
Yeah.
You just showed up at Bridgestone?
I did,
It was empty.
it was
I walked around
for
outside, it was
no,
great.
it was Garth Brooks.
It was a Garth.
It was Garth Brooks. That's
You
all.
didn't stay. I assumed that detail, but you didn't state that
Sorry,
detail.
sorry. It's getting a little late
It's
for
getting
me.
closer and closer to 8 p.m.
That
It
was one of the
is.
ones I did the cannons
But-
on.
Was it really?
Might have been mine. I don't know. It was December 19th or something, 2017.
Dude,
think it was
I
my
guess
That would be really
I think
fun.
it was.
But he also did like 10 shows, so
that is true.
Yeah, he
But,
does
1 in
residencies,
10
I feel
chance.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but man, I mean, it was absolutely insane. I am not that big of a Garth Brooks fan. I went there because I met him in person, and I thought he was a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
He could have just told me to go blow steam, but he sat and talked to me and asked me questions, and I was like, man, like
Yeah.
somebody of his status doing that, I don't think that would ever really happen much.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
Absolutely.
because of your job, right? It was like landscaping related that
Well,
you ran into him, right?
I was at Flying Saucer the first time that I met him,
Yeah.
and I said,
Rest in
hey,
peace, by the way.
yes, that is true. And I had seen him from a distance before and waved to him because I do the landscape maintenance for a couple of properties around his studio.
Okay.
So he'd be outside in scrubs just like waving to people
Yeah.
as well. And I'm like, dude, you are like huge and you're doing this.
That was at Jack's
insane.
Tracks or Flying Saucer? Wait.
No. So I met him at Flying Saucer.
But you'd already
Had
seen
beer,
him.
but I had seen him before,
gotcha.
and I just ran up to him and
Hugged him.
no.
Hello.
There were so many girls I wanted to, but no, I walked up to him, tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around, got up, shook my hand, asked my name, and he's like, "You want to take a picture?" I was like, "Sure." And I was like, "Can I also get your autograph? Because my cousin is a huge fan." And I sent her a picture of myself with him and his autograph, and she just went crazy.
That's cool.
That's
But
pretty
yeah,
awesome.
Garth is a good
Was
guy.
he drinking at Flying Saucer? What was he doing there?
Yeah,
He was hanging out?
Just hanging
yeah.
out.
I don't know if he was drinking beer or not, but he was there just with
Just
three,
chilling?
three other guys,
Nice.
just chilling.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know he's allowed to socialize. Just kidding.
They let him out every once in a while, amongst us common
Flying
people.
Saucer, they had that slice of pizza with the jalapeno.
Oh,
in
did
there.
they?
It was just a plain pepperoni pizza, but it had jalapeno slices. I don't know what they did to it, but it was the freaking best. Man, I was going to miss that.
I remember turning 21 and assuming it'd be possible for me to try all the drinks at Flying Saucer.
Oh,
You
okay.
know,
Just a
I,
little
as if I was
samplers.
made of money. You
I
know?
That's
was
why they had the
twen-
UFO club. man.
25.
Yeah.
I was 25 away.
Were you really?
Oh, man.
25.
Dude, that's like a weekend.
Yep.
Sheesh.
But I also stopped drinking, so
It was a combination of the two. You know. Also, that kind of speaks
may
to
have been
Yeah,
one of the
I was gonna
reasons
say.
why I had a drinking problem. But
Maybe just a little bit. How many beers did they have again? A little more than 25.
oh my gosh, yeah.
And they had a great shirt that said, "It's not it's not rocket surgery." Oh yeah, that's what it was. It's like it's not rocket surgery. I'm like, I always wished I got that. I use that phrase all the time now. It's not rocket surgery.
It's not rocket surgery. That's awesome.
I never got the shirt. Dang it.
To pivot to fatherhood again, what lessons do you feel like you learned from trying to work from home with a kid? Like, what was that experience actually like?
Oh man,
Because
yeah.
it is a mess.
It is a miss.
Yeah.
Well, it was just kids. I think the big message is kids. That's what I learned. Time management. Yeah. And I remember asking, because again, I was used to being in the studio. I'd get up, I'd have a cup of coffee, I'd hit the studio like 8:30, and sometimes I'd go up to like 7 or 8, and I'd just be cranking out tracks and singing and writing, do whatever I had to do, sessions in there or whatever. I'd go to another studio and just going again all the time. Now, after having a kid be involved now, especially with daycare, I have to go. We drop off at 8, and I pick up at 4:30. So I got to get home. So that's 8:30. I got to leave for him. So that's 4. So I got 8 to 4 to get in everything I need to do that day, which sometimes includes everything I was doing from 8 to 7, 5 days a week. Now I have to get in for much shorter. So time management. And then when he was only doing daycare a few days a week, that's when I was, or even sick. There were weeks he was sick the entire week. Had a fever, wouldn't break. I'm like, I don't know how to push back my clients anymore, how to push back my writers, how to do anything. I don't know what I'm doing. And I remember talking to a sleepy-eyed to another producer guy. I was like, dude, how do you do this when you have kids? I don't understand how people can do this. And he goes, well, all those projects that you always wanted to say no to, but you just did them because you had the time. I'm like, yeah. He goes, you get to say no to them now.
Yeah.
And I said, oh. And once I figured that out, all of a sudden, actually, life blossomed because I cut out the fat stuff I didn't want to do and the people I didn't want to deal with. I kept the projects, and I think it was Frank Ocean or something said, you can be happy you can be happy in this business as long as you're okay not making as much money.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
so then I heard that, and I factored that, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just not going to make as much money. I'm going to be more than comfortable, but I'm just not going to make as much, and I'm going to be cutting down on all that stuff. And those two things, all of a sudden, it locked in. So I just, as long as I was okay making less money, and I had more time to deal with. So time management was the big thing.
Yep.
And it's not even like I'm not missing out on work, because when I'm done for the day, I'm done. Very rarely do I tell Kim, hey, I got to go back up and do something.
Okay.
Once in a while I do. I'll just go take care of something real quick, but it's not big. But after that point, I look at it as total gratitude that I get to sit there for dinner, be there for Tonight's bath night. I'm not there for bath night, but I'm
Yep,
there.
same here.
Kim's master of bath night, so I just usually sit back anyway. But at
Yeah.
least I'm there in case something happens or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm there for bedtime, and I'm able to do that without having work pressure. I have to go take a call or whatever. So I'm super grateful that I've found that balance. It took me a while to do that, and but allows me to be up and at 'em, get home, get everything done. And I think Ryan Tedder even mentioned it. I saw him on an interview. He goes, "Yep, I got to get kids to school in the morning, and I got to pick them up. That's my job. But so I just have to hustle my ass off during that day. I got to make sure I get everything done.
Yeah.
You know, if Rihanna wants to do this and that day, I tell her I have to be done at 4
Yep.
and to go get my kid. And I'm like, all right, well, if Tedder can do it, I guess I can do
Yeah,
it
pretty
too.
much.
So.
Yep.
So that's been the big lesson. And then, as I mentioned, kids. I was the youngest of my family, so I never had kids. Anybody
Oh.
younger than me growing up, I didn't understand toddlers. I didn't understand infants. I didn't understand newborns. I didn't understand the birthing process. I didn't understand pumping. I didn't
Yeah.
understand all the stuff that I mean, it's a huge, giant, capital neon WTF
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
that all comes into play. And so it was such a just total. I don't even know what it was. It was just
Shock to your system.
shock to the system, culture shock,
Yeah.
lifestyle shock, all that. And so learning kids and learning how to. I was never comfortable with kids.
Okay.
Like growing up, or even in my life because I hadn't been around him. And now him and I are best friends. I know exactly
That's
how
cool.
to deal with them, how to play with. I see other kids. I'll be like, hey, what's up? How's it going?
Yeah.
You know,
You just be goofy and make a lot of eye contact. That's basically all you do with kids.
faces, all the
Yeah.
faces are great.
Just be really expressive. It
I
helps
love
the
how
time.
when you pick them up, you have to go to the side to
We
see
have
the.
to go look at the fences.
Yep.
Oh, really?
So that's discovering him. He was great. He would walk into daycare by himself, happy as hell. This was maybe 6 weeks ago or so, up to 6 weeks, and never say a thing. One day, he flipped out going in. He just melted down like he didn't want to be away. He's like, Dad,
Yeah.
he's just melting down, separation. I'm like,
man.
here we go. And so I just pushed away and got out of there. And next day, same thing. And he was like, Dad, meltdown. I'm like, Tim, I don't know what to do. I was texting her. He just melted down again. This sucks. And then the next day, I realized he'd been saying, over there.
Oh.
But I thought he just wanted to go back home to the car.
Yeah.
But he was saying, over there. I'm like, what's over here? I'm like, let's see what it is. And so we walk over there. He goes, oh, see the fence. Okay, let's go see that fence.
Yeah.
And so he said, okay, so we got to go walk around the other side of the fence. And so we go over there. And he goes, okay. And then he walks in the dang hallway, walks down, happy as hell, no issue.
Yep.
So the next day, I was like, well, you want to go see the fences? Yeah, go see that fence. Let's go see that. So we go see these fences. He walks in, haven't had a single issue
Yep.
since
All
he's
he wanted.
able to go see the fences.
Yep.
Now and Justin's mentioning it transition into after school too. So when we pick him up, he's going, let's go see that fence. So we have to go see the fence. And I'm like, it's cold, man. Come on.
Yeah.
But we go see the fences, and he gets in the car, no issue. It's just amazing. I didn't know I had to listen to him,
Yep.
but I do.
It's whenever they're that little, I always like to think of it as they are actually communicating constantly. It's just you haven't learned the language yet, and that's where most meltdowns come from. Is they're trying to communicate something, and you're there, and you're like, I have no idea what the hell you're saying,
Yep.
man, but we gotta go. I don't know. I feel like I've told Justin this a million times. Of like, if you're hanging out somewhere and someone suddenly barged in and was like, all right, we got to go now, we're leaving. You'd be like,
Yeah.
dude, you're killing the vibe. Like, what's going on?
yeah.
But we do that to our kids like constantly. I'm like, all right, it's time to go. So like, you learn as they are able to communicate more to be like, hey, we're going now. Like, this is your last thing. Let's go.
Or-
Like, da-da-da.
Or giving them a little bit of a leeway. Okay, we got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go.
Just trying to reset
Have you heard
expectations.
the term
That-
for that?
Now, what is
The
that?
term is emotional vaccination.
Oh, really? What's that
Yeah.
mean?
I don't know. I've heard a podcast on, but it is you vaccinate them from the emotion they're going to have by
Oh,
letting
okay.
them know earlier that they can expect what's. You said
Is that a good thing or a
expectation.
bad thing?
It's a good thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Okay, cool, yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's a
so
good
I'm doing
vaccination
something
there.
good.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, crap.
Vaccine is an iffy word these days for
Yeah.
some people.
Well, imagine if you do it to your emotions.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
No, you prep them and they'll
Yep.
and then they.
It works for Ada.
Yeah.
I mean, but I always like to think like, Devin, if you were this person and someone came up and did this to you, if someone just came, left you in a room and ran out the door, you'd be like, what the hell was that? Like,
What the fuck?
what the hell what was that about, man? Like, you would also be confused and mad. Why are you assuming your kid should just be cool with it? Like,
Yeah.
that's not very nice to do.
I remember that feeling that way when I was in grade school and junior high. My parents would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going here. I'm
All
like,
right, man, we're
wait,
out.
I'm in the middle of doing this.
thought- yeah.
You don't have a say in this right now. Oh, but I want to say.
But I want to
I'm in the middle of Zelda game. I can't stop.
Pretty much.
Doug, what
Yeah.
else we got?
A sleepy Justin.
Yeah. Sorry,
sleepy?
man. I am sleepy.
Sleepy.
Uh-oh.
Justin.
What'd you do?
Existed.
It has been a busy week.
I hope you haven't been watching Kentucky basketball.
Oh, why'd you have to say that?
You didn't even know I was making fun of Kentucky basketball.
God
when we rolled
almighty.
up.
That I am embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed.
a
That
rough
and
couple
then what
weeks.
was it, the Peacocks 2 years ago?
Yeah, that was a beautiful day. That's all I know.
No, it wasn't. He's an
Well,
IU fan.
I'm an IU
so
fan, so
You really have no say right now.
I mean,
Yikes.
but I don't have the expectations. So
True.
I don't have the All-Star draft class.
But rest in peace, Bob Knight.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Rest in, this is a little too soon. You know,
Ah.
just
I mean, hey,
10 days ago.
I like the guy. I
You
thought he
know
was a
what?
good
What
coach.
was
a fan, yeah.
He in one of his speeches he said he hopes he gets buried face down so his critics can still kiss his ass.
I love him,
And I'm
man.
like, that is the most Bob Knight thing you could possibly do.
That is hilarious.
Such a
Well, if y'all need a
curmudgeon.
new team tomorrow, Arizona will be number 1. So if you guys need to jump on any
That's right.
bandwagons, then
Did you
that's
go to
my-
Arizona?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
Grew up in Tucson, so I got to see Steve Kerr play
Oh,
there.
yeah, that's
and
right.
all that team, and
Beat us.
back in the day. And then I
That's
I
right.
went to school with the guys who beat you, Mike Bibby and Miles Simon. They used to sit
I
next to me in
hated
philosophy
Bibby
class.
so
That's cool.
much.
Dickerson, they were all in the class, and so,
That's really cool.
Got to be there for that heyday, but that was our only one. That's 25 years ago. We're like,
Yeah.
we still holding on to that strong,
Listen,
you know.
I'm an IU fan. They haven't won a championship since I've been alive. They
Oh,
won the
man,
last one
really?
in 1987.
Wow.
And what would have been March? I was born in May of '87.
Oh,
So
dang.
technically, I have not been alive while IU has won a
That's
national
wild.
championship.
Well, something to look forward to, right?
Yeah, hopefully we'll see. It's such a hard thing to do and accomplish. So,
Yeah, it is. You look at the numbers, like, well, all right, it's not that easy. Jeez.
did you? I know you went to Duke and watched the Arizona game. Did you take your son with you?
No, that was
Okay.
my first trip, kind of off on my own since he's been around. I've been kind of banking some karma, you know.
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
like,
yeah.
And so last year I wanted to go to a few games that were kind of nearby, but it just, again, I felt, Kim wasn't totally like, hey, go for it. It was,
Until
and it was
your
still
kid
uncomfortable.
turns 2, I feel like you're kind of like everything doesn't feel that stable.
Yeah, exactly.
You say everything's good, and it would be, but I just would feel guilt for
winter,
years.
you don't make too many plans during winter because
Yeah.
you don't know where the sickness is going to be. So
but it's there.
So this is my first time I got to go see my buddies. He lives out there. First time been out to his place since he moved to Raleigh, and we were roommates at Arizona. So
cool.
we're like, well, they're in Duke.
that's
we
really
got to
cool.
make this
So
happen. And
cool.
so it was just a quick trip weekender, and oh man, but unbelievable. Even just as a basketball fan, period.
Yeah.
Going to Cameron Indoor was unbelievable. Just their rituals and the
Yeah.
spirit they had and the energy, and the place is big as a nickel. It's just like
Yeah.
tiny. So
How many
small.
people do you think it seats?
Oh man, I don't
Dun,
know.
dun, dun.
Maybe like 7,000.
Yeah, I thought it was
that.
like less than 10,000, and Duke
Something
could probably
around there.
sell out 20 to 30,000 every
Oh,
single game.
easily.
Oh,
And
yeah.
tickets were definitely up there. Like, yeah, they made you want them bad.
I would expect to spend. I'd be like, all right, cool. It's going to be like $500 to $600, and here we go.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so
Yeah.
9,000.
9,000
okay.
people in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that's
and the whole bottom bowl is student section.
Okay.
So it's so loud, just down the
Yeah.
bottom bowl. Upper bowl is all the non-students, I guess.
Yeah.
But that student section is just insane, shrill, sometimes mean.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
They
I mean,
have-
they're Duke.
They have very tall middle fingers if you win there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's very strange. They all come out, and even if you're not saying anything, if you just happen to be wearing red and you're an
Yeah.
Arizona fan and you beat them there, you get fingers. It's
That's
really
weird.
weird. It's very
Yeah.
strange. Yeah. Oh well.
Were you
students are
close
nice.
you were close to the student section?
Oh yeah, with the next row down was student,
Oh,
student
seriously?
section. So
That's
they would
pretty cool.
they would hear me yelling U of A, and they
Yeah.
would look up, and everybody else, like all the folks around me, they're all super cool. We're talking
they
and
don't
chatting,
care,
and
yeah.
but the students were not
Yeah.
having it.
I think I've told this story before, but me and my ex-wife snuck into Vanderbilt Stadium when UK played Vanderbilt, and it
Oh.
was the year that Anthony Davis was there, and we
Oh,
won the
cool.
championship. We had UK shirts on, and then we put Vanderbilt shirts on top of that, and we went into the student section, and we got really good seats. And then when the game started, we took the Vanderbilt off, so we were in the student section.
Ridiculous.
Everybody was giving me a hard time. We had the mascot coming up and pushing me and
That's awesome.
and them trying to get me kicked out. I was smart enough.
Wow.
I had 2 friends that had student tickets that sat right next to us. When I knew that everybody was trying to get me kicked out, I said, "Hey, let me have those tickets real fast."
Yeah.
And then just gave them to them.
Wow.
And they're like, we can't kick you
can't
out. They
kick you
got,
out, man.
got tickets.
Was that when they played at Vandy or in the SEC championship
At
game?
Vandy.
Okay, cool.
At
Not when they
Vandy,
lost.
not when they lost.
Yeah, one
I
of their
know
2
that.
losses. Yeah.
But
pretty
we
conniving.
barely won anyways.
Yeah,
but
I
it was
know.
cool to see Anthony Davis and
Yeah.
and
That,
see
that
that
team had insane talent. On
Oh
it.
man,
Big
I was
time.
so happy that year.
Yeah, of
We
course.
beat Kansas, which was really
did.
great.
Anytime you beat Kansas, yeah.
Yep.
My wife
So
went to
you
Kansas.
got a little mischief in you there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Justin is like Justin as he's gotten older is more just like I probably can't get away with that anymore. I
No.
feel like it's more
So,
your energy
all
now.
right.
Ada
So-
would be very disappointed in me.
Yeah.
Before I worked for Peachtree, I worked for Jersey Mike's, and our Jersey Mike's catered at Vanderbilt. So my boss or the owner was just like, "Hey, yeah, go in and then just walk around the stadium after you drop off the sandwiches, and then wait for the game to start, and you're in."
Done.
So I was like, "All right,
might
I'll
as well.
try it."
Yeah.
So yeah, we literally just dropped the sandwiches off, and then we walked around the halls, and nobody said a daggone thing.
Just kept walking and walking and walking.
Yep.
Didn't I see you 4 times ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we just waited until like they let the students in, and then we got down. We were literally like the second row, mid court. It
That's
was
cool.
awesome.
That's that same buddy, my high school college roommate that I went to see Duke with. We used to do the same thing at the Tucson Convention Center, and we knew one door. There was a door that was unguarded and it was unlocked. You walked in and walked through the kitchen, and one door later you were in the arena. You just had to go
That's
around a couple
cool.
of things. So we knew, and we just happened to find it one time, and we were trying to sneak in for something, George Strait or something. But we snuck in for about 2 years into any show we wanted to see just by going in that door.
That is cool.
Never had any issue. And then one day we show up, we're going to go see some show, we're excited, all decked out, and they have a dang guard standing outside. Inside of them.
no.
They finally
You
figured
walk
it out.
up,
Dang.
tie your shoe, walk away. Like, oh, yeah, this is where I tie my shoes. Shoe time. See, Belmont, it was just free. Like basketball games were free because no one came. So there was no sneaking in. It was just like, I think there's a game in there, and you just go walk.
We have a
in and like-
team?
Yeah, that's how much Belmont
Well, your
cares about
basketball
sports.
team isn't that bad.
No, it's legit. It's a
No,
good
you guys-
team. They've
yeah.
had NBA players.
You
Like,
just
yeah.
played Arizona about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, that's
At
right.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Held in pretty good for a
Yep.
little while. Yeah.
So I mean, like they consistently have like first round draft talent now.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's pretty impressive. So yeah, it's funny because like yeah, my friends that went to Indiana, my wife went to Kansas for grad school. She got to go to one KU basketball game while she was there, and like it's because she had a friend who waited outside, you know, for like 24 hours to get a student ticket. Belmont was literally just like, yeah, I think they started like 20 minutes ago. Yeah, I'll walk over. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I wish that's how UK was.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
that how it was for Arizona?
Oh, yeah.
Or was
Sold
it-
out every single game.
Yeah.
And just
Especially, I
madhouse,
mean, you
yeah.
were there in the 90s, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, whenever they were like national championship game and
Heyday,
stuff, yeah, like
Expectations were always high after the 80s teams and then the championship. And yeah, it was always just like, madhouse. And
Yep.
But we had the student tickets, and we knew a lady who worked for the box office, so she'd slide us aside the student tickets the best one she could find, and then we'd win the lottery that the student has to.
interesting.
And
They had a
we walk in
lottery.
there, she's like, "Oh, congratulations for winning your lottery." We're like, "Thank you." And
appreciate it.
so that was pretty awesome. We always had pretty good
That's
seats
cool.
for those too. Yeah.
Lucky son of a bee.
Helps
And
to know people. You gotta know people. And then there was one year where we didn't get him. She couldn't get him. We're like, "This sucks." And
That
it
does
was-
suck.
We were all bummed, but
I remember just having to wait 6 to 8 hours, it felt like.
oh yeah.
And then sometimes not getting them.
Yeah.
And you're there.
and that was just normal.
You're there at midnight and you have to go to school the next day and you're like, I didn't come away with anything.
It sucks.
Oh my God.
Those are the days of waiting in line for tickets.
Yeah,
Remember
man.
those? Like
Yeah, man.
for us, it was Dillard's or Zips Music. Remember Dillard's?
Yeah.
And they had the box office, and it's the only place you could get tickets. There'd be a line for miles outside the mall at 8 a.m. on a Saturday when, somebody was coming to town, and oh my God, but then it sucked because right in front of you'd be like, no more tickets. And it's like, it was right there.
So close. So I've got to ask now. So Justin, you were mischievous and silly in high school. I wasn't mischievous. I was the instigator. I'd be the person on the outsides being like, I bet you won't hit him, screaming that. The fight. What were you like? Were you mischievous? What was your vibe?
I was pretty chill and behind the scenes. Yeah, I wasn't definitely the instigator on much. I was just more sneaky. Like my mom she was always kind of mad because I was going through my lying phase at that point, right towards high school, and I would just be like, "Yeah, well, the one classic one is that my oh God, it hurts my heart to tell this story." Yeesh.
That's what we're here for.
We had a track meet. I was a pole vaulter. We went to Phoenix to do the meet. Everything was fine, but the bus broke down on the way home. And so they said, okay, we're going to be late. Go over there and everybody call their parents and let them know we're going to be late a little bit. And so I go over and I call my mom. Yeah, the bus is going to be late. Don't know when it's going to be in, but I got my car. Just want to let you know that I'll be late. And she's like, okay, fine. Well, I decide since the bus is going to be late, it'd be a great time to go over to my girlfriend's house. So I go over to my girlfriend's house, and it's like 11. I'm still thinking, Mom thinks, the bus is late and coming up on midnight. Well, turns out my mom had gotten worried, so she'd already called the coach.
No.
Coach had told her the bus had been back for 3 hours, and so by the time I got home, I was in some deep poop. But
And that's valid also.
totally valid. And I had to look back, I'm like, why did I think I could get away with that? It's so stupid, man. So I was that kid. I was just trying to find ways to get out of anything to go hang with my girlfriend, and so that was me. I was that loser. Yeah. But otherwise, I didn't get in a whole lot. I got in fights in grade school, but I never got in fights later on.
Okay.
I kind of stayed away from them. I was like I was actually Daniel LaRusso from the Karate Kid because we moved to Hawaii. I was an Air Force brat. And my dad got stationed in Hawaii, so I was the Howley. I was the Howley, and they initiated Howleys when you got there in 5th grade, apparently. So they kind of pushed you around and bullied you around, and so my parents were like, well, good time to start karate. So I went and started karate, and eventually, oddly enough, just learned enough to keep the bullies away, essentially.
Gotcha, yeah.
And so after that, it was pretty easy going, and never had to. I was always ready in high school, judo chop, but never had to use it. In
Just
high school.
sweeping
Judy
legs.
chop.
Sweeping legs left and right,
those
you
legs,
know?
Yeah. Put them in body bags, the whole story. But, yeah, so I was that was I was always in the guitar guy. I guess that's what I was. I was the singer. I was
Okay.
like, check me out, I'm the singer guy. And
And no one wanted to fight you for it, you know?
no, they're like, no, sing me a song. I'm like, peace, love, and happiness.
You would tame the beast.
There's a red bird in the sky. Yes.
That's awesome.
That is me.
Yes.
So you just came out with a new song a couple months ago,
Yeah.
right? What was it? Miss
Called
America?
I'm Miss America, yeah.
Miss America.
So,
Awesome.
did that. Had a company kind of wanted to do a movement. They had another artist lined up. I wrote the song with my buddy Clarence J. You guys remember the song Friday, Rebecca Black?
Yeah.
Yes.
That just hilarious video.
Yeah,
but I mean, the guy got billions of streams. He's living in a big old mansion in Brentwood now. But
Good for him.
So he wrote that song?
he wrote Friday, with his buddy, and owned enough of it to where life treated him well, essentially, because of just a
Oh, yeah.
for whatever
Why can't I
reason,
do
it was
that?
he would get tens of thousands of dollars every time they'd mention it on late night.
Yeah.
And for a while, everybody's been mentioning it for a while just
Yeah.
because of the context of it. And so
That song was a cultural moment.
Oh, yeah.
totally,
Which is a ridiculous sentiment to say.
exactly, it is. So
But good for him.
good, very good.
Yeah.
for him, yeah. So he's like, he's looking for that spark again. And
of course.
so we've written a few tunes, but he knew these guys who were like, this, they want to do a whole marketing. They love this idea. They wanted to create a movement and mantra from the song title. They had another artist lined up. I was like, take the song, go. Cause again, I'm a songwriter by heart.
Yeah.
That's my first thing. I was like, go with it. And then they're like, well, our artist kind of, didn't pan out. So, but we still want to do this. We have a whole thing set up, we got billboards in play. We got a music video we want to shoot, yada, yada, yada. What are you doing? I'm like, I ain't doing jack right now. I'm sitting around, in my studio, and I pick up daycare and I drop off daycare.
Yeah.
What you got in mind? And they're like, well, let's do this. And principle wise, it was one of those things where just after having a kid, I'm like, I imagine this country a certain way that I'd love him to grow up with the way I did in the 80s kind of deal, and not with a lot of stuff that we're seeing on the TV. And so it kind of spawned from that and conversations about that. And the big tagline there is less fighting, more uniting is what it really means.
Cool. Yeah.
Everybody's going to see what they want to see on it no matter what they think. And I'll sit there and I'll tell them face to face, like, nobody's saying think one way or the other. It's, hey, we all need to have a conversation and start talking rather than pitchforks and bonfires and turning into guns and all that. So that's kind of where the song came. And it's still, we're over 1 million views cross platforms, but we're still looking for that big spark to really kind of just make it a household thing. And so just open the conversation, getting it going. That's kind of where we're at with the first line of the chorus is, I miss the old days when we came together and we'd all say, let's make it better. Yeah. So that's kind of the kumbaya moment of it.
Yeah.
And the video is funny.
Oh, the video, we had a blast doing that. We had Victoria Jackson.
Yeah, man.
She's a hoot, and so we've become good friends doing that. And so America's the big old kitchen table. We have everybody around the dinner table there who has all their thoughts and opinions, and we all just want to be able to sit at the same table and high five and raise a beer and have a laugh, but and still be who we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I
So we
loved
did
it.
that, and it spawned off. You dig enough into my catalog, you'll everything like Turning Heads has a weird, very patriotic stuff. I've had stuff by John Schneider, the Bo Duke from Dukes of Hazzard, if you guys remember that guy. So he's buddy and recorded a few songs, but then the Kid Rock thing happened, and that was very again very just weird piece of when that unfolded. Had a number one with him called We the People, and that was we wrote it a certain way. I'll give you the little background on that.
Yeah.
We wrote pre-COVID, it was like 4 years back, and we tracked it. And me and the other co-writer, Jason, we were always like, hey, and Bob was putting all these F-bombs in there and, kind of doing some stuff. We're like, why don't we rein that back a little, try to make it a little bit more radio
I like
friendly.
what you're doing here, however.
And he's like, well, yeah, I'm going to put my spin on it eventually. I'll make it a little more me. But we did these choruses, which were all like, all the unity in there, and which is always the big message, and all for one for all kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And then one day, he was a Sunday, and he calls and said, hey, guys, I'm releasing on the Tuesday. Did a little work, but I just want to let you hear it before I release it. And then it had all the verses in there, which were like, oh, my God. It had all these hilarious things that, again, very, very Kid Rock, very toward his fan base. Like he's aiming right at it and has zero qualms or issues. And so we're like, well, all right, let's ride this wave and see what happens. And but then Thursday had a number one Billboard hit. So
That's
cool. I was pretty cool with that when all said and done, but the backstory behind that of, hey, we had unity and choruses and this and that, and then all of a sudden Bob's like, well, I put my verses on there, so here you go.
Like,
That is so cool. I had no idea you had met him before.
We've written and up at the studio and done a bunch
cool.
of sessions and he'll play the song now. It's the last song he plays in the set before his encore. So it's really cool. It's like the big pinnacle moment before he comes out with Ba With Da Ba. So pretty awesome.
Is he as crazy in person?
He is the most down to earth. Like,
oh, really?
I didn't even know he was, rock star when he walked in. I was like, oh, where's Bob at? I was like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's just very unassuming. When you get him in the mode, when you get him feeling music, and he'll pull out his turntables, like, this is what I learned on right here, watch this beat, oh, we'll do a boom bap here, hey, we hit that, and he'll just start going, he'll jump at the drum kit, start doing that, hit licks on his guitar, all within a space of 10-15 minutes. You're like trying to keep up, and so when you get him going musically, he is just a phenom, genius, so ridiculous. Cool. When you're just sitting there talking, he is unassuming and super cool and very, very chill and relaxed. And then, but yeah, when there's a camera on him and he's got something to say about something in the world, he will let you know about it for sure.
All about it.
I love it, man.
And you're sitting there like, oh, all right, cool.
That's what he said.
Yeah. Justin, do you want to start wrapping up the episode?
Let's do it.
So, Doug, Mason, Doug, Mason, Doug.
I'll answer them all. Yeah.
Hey, friend.
I've actually had to put the slash on emails. I'm like, Mason/Doug. Anybody who doesn't know what to talk, tell me.
Yes. How we end all of our episodes is we ask the same 5 questions. So once Justin pulls it up on his phone, which is happening,
I've heard these 5 questions, but I've totally drawn a blank. I should have prepped.
No, it's okay.
I don't remember as
not
soon
the
as
most intense questions.
They are. They're gonna make you think.
I remember hearing them and
being like, oh, that's a good gimmick.
No. All right. First question. Did you have a... Hey, stop doing that.
I did have one of those. I've had many people tell me that. Yeah.
Did you have a backup name for Declan?
No, that was the one. That was the first one we had. I got all sorts of girl names,
Oh,
but
yeah?
for guy names, we just couldn't settle on anything. There was one my wife liked a lot, and I just wasn't thrilled about. And but I really didn't have any boy names. And then she's the one who came up with Declan Atlas. We liked the Atlas and kind of
Okay.
wander around. And when she said that, I was like, oh man, because Huff is a really tough one to like
Oh,
find
yeah, to
anything
make it
good.
flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, as I mentioned, that dry heave sound. Yeah. Hoof. So you have to find a couple syllables, and you got to get them right, and they got to have cadence and all that. So
Yeah.
she said Declan Atlas. I was like, that is awesome. And that was it. Never even had really a second one. And we just had to sit on it for a few days and make sure it was right. But yeah,
Yeah. What about the girls' names? Just
I can't tell you any of those. Yeah.
really?
I mean, just in case.
Oh,
do think-
okay.
Having had 2 girls and a son, coming up with girls' names were a lot cuter and more fun. Where
Yes.
boys, it's like, all right, rather go kind of weird, like Devon,
Yeah.
or we go with like just standard Joshua.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like the range is like really easy to understand, or like a little weird
Yep.
and not so
Or
cute.
do you want him to be strong? Do you
Yeah,
want
really
him to
though, yeah.
be, a cook? Or do
Yeah.
you want him to be usher? You have to figure out what you want.
Yeah.
Based on that name, it's going to be what he's going to be doing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a hard time with boy names.
Oh yeah.
We had like 9 girl names and maybe 1 or 2 boy
Yeah.
names.
Yeah.
And
Which is
Kim
hard.
wasn't even, Kim was one of those who's like, well, let's just make sure when we see him before we announce.
Okay.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. We didn't tell anybody. We're like, no.
Oh,
And my
okay.
mom didn't even know how to pronounce it. She goes, Declan? What is this? Declan? And I'm like, Declan? You never heard Declan? So yeah,
It's not that weird. Come on.
we had to make sure he looked like who he was.
Declan.
Of course, I understand that. Yeah.
And I was like, when we were looking, I'm like, does he? Please tell me he looks like his name, because I don't know if we can.
We already wrote it down on the birth certificate, so we kind of got to go with it.
Yeah.
Next question: do you have a favorite TV dad?
Oh, Danny Tanner, man.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
That's
Yep.
a good
Danny
one.
Tanner. That's
Awesome.
easy one. And yeah, I just grew up on Full House. I was so excited when Fuller House came along, but it was as cheesy as anything ever was. But
Yep.
yeah, that was my Friday night must see TV.
Yep.
On Friday nights back in the day.
I will be intrigued to know like what our kids are like whenever they grow up, because yeah, we all grew up with like Friday night like lineups and Thursday
Yep.
night lineups and everything's streaming now. So what's like? I'll be intrigued to see what the cultural moments are where
Yeah.
all of us are honed in on the same thing, because everything's so niche now that like
Yeah.
you and I could spend 20 hours watching TV and not cross our Venn diagrams of TV watching at all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So-
Exactly.
We'll see what happens.
Like, I named my teddy bear Squid Games. You're like, what did I? What's wrong with me?
He's not a squid.
man.
When did you watch that?
Yeah. What's your mom been letting you watch?
All right. Next question. Least favorite kids show or movie?
The show right now is Caillou or Caillou or whatever.
Dude, we need to make
What is wrong with whoever made that? Do they not get it?
Everyone hates this show.
apparently it's not a dad or mom.
God.
Like it's my favorite part about this question is how many dads like some questions they sit there and think and everything. This
Yeah.
one almost immediately is like
Yeah.
Caillou. Like, not even the synopsis in your brain needs no work at all. It's just
man.
Caillou.
And we have like a couple books. I hate even looking through the books. He's like, read this one. I'm like, I don't. Look, he finds his pet. Okay, what next? Yeah.
What do you hate about it? What's your least favorite thing about it?
His drawing and his
Voice.
Yeah. I was gonna say the noise, but
The
it's
noise from
voice.
his face.
That stuff coming out of the mouth all the time.
People normally call it a voice. I call it the noise from the
He's
face.
so whiny. He's like
Yep.
the whiniest. Oh man, what are they
That's
getting?
what I keep
I just
hearing.
can't find what they're getting from it. So,
I feel like Justin and I have talked about how like we almost don't want to try it once,
No.
like even on our own, like just to be like, what is wrong with this show? Because we're like, our kids will somehow hear it through the walls or something.
Yeah, I refuse.
yeah.
But I'm kind of intrigued.
Give it about 5-10. There's like little short snippets you can do.
Okay.
So try one of those. But yeah, I don't think I've done a full 30 by any means. It's
Oh,
been
really?
a very short thing. I'm like, no, we're going to find something else.
Yeah.
I don't care what else you watch, whatever. But
What do you guys think of Miss Rachel?
oh, huge fan. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Respect.
Except for when she said chocolate yesterday, and then Ada just wanted chocolate
Oh,
the
yeah.
rest of the day.
Is that,
I was like, why, Miss Rachel, why?
is that on Miss Rachel?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
she
was
says
on
a
the
lot of
the
stuff, yeah.
Christmas one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just watched that one. She said chocolate, and then Ada got up from her seat, and
Zoned in.
went over to the pantry, and said chocolate, chocolate. Just kept saying, we're like, no, baby, no.
There's so many other words in this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Why did you have to
What
pick
about
up on that one?
Snowman or Jingle
Snowman,
Bells?
or
Yeah.
anything else.
Come
Nope.
on.
Chocolate.
Yeah, that Miss Rachel, man, that Caterpillar song. Oh man, That one gets me every time. Kim makes fun of me because I'll be like, oh, but listen to the Caterpillar song. And if you like really listen as a lyricist and musician, I'm like, oh, they nailed that thing.
Yeah.
Watch out for Caterpillar. That'll get you right in the feels.
Next question. Do you have a favorite kid's toy? Like when Declan plays with it, you actually like to play with it also?
Anything. Well, my big thing is that I've been looking forward to him finding all these toys because I can play with them all. The only one I don't like is chalk. Yeah. I like everything else. I like the kinetic blocks are growing on me. All the Legos are definitely growing. I love the Legos. Yeah. Any of the car stuff. Oh, like little spinny cars. I'm huge on those, so he loves all those. But when he wants to go out back and play with the sidewalk chalk, I'm like, oh god. And I think it's just because it gets everywhere. It gets everywhere. On your hand and
places you didn't know existed.
And it gets all over him, his face, his clothes, and then we have to go wash everything. And I'm like, this isn't fun. Let's go play with some paint. Yeah, but not chalk.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
And he loves Play-Doh right now. He's just like really got into Play-Doh shapes and cutting it and pounding it down, making, pancakes and his own little things. And so that's been really cool to kind of get new toys and be like, oh, look, you can squish through this one and look what you made. You made spaghetti. And,
like, yay. If you make spaghetti from scratch, it's kind of adult Play-Doh. So that is kind of how it feels sometimes.
Adulting, yeah.
All right. Next question. What moment of your kid's life are you most excited to be a part of?
The day, it's going to be heartbreaking and bittersweet, but the day that he wakes up by himself, goes downstairs by himself, and gets the cereal bowl out by himself, and the cereal and the milk, pours himself a bowl of cereal, and sits down and is able to eat that without waking Dad up, then
I know exactly.
I mean his independence. I'm really grateful for his independence.
That's the first one we've ever heard. That's a great one.
And I will have treasured every single moment, every day that we spent getting to that point, because breakfast with the Declan is my favorite thing. We wake up, and I've always had breakfast since Kim gets up and she's got to go be at her job. So I get to go eat cereal, and we learn how to eat new things and have a blast in breakfast most of the time. That's. But I'm very much looking forward to that moment where I can sleep in a little bit. He can do that, and we'll have done a good job. But it's hard because you look forward to it's the classic conundrum of I can't wait to get to that point, but then you realize that he will never be the way he is today again. So you better enjoy those breakfasts, all those lunches, all the dinners, all the bath times, all the screaming, all the tantrums, all the stuff that takes you by surprise and you don't know how to handle. You better enjoy learning all that because only a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. Does he wake up super hungry? I feel like my kids sometimes wake up super hungry. Like, why isn't breakfast ready yet? And you're like, you woke me up in bed.
Yeah. No, not really.
Patience.
He does pretty good.
That's good.
He wants to play a little bit before breakfast. And we feed him breakfast before we go to daycare, just so the daycare's more of a snack. And so he's in charge of it. He knows he's got to do diaper, and then he gets to go down and choose his breakfast. He'll pick whatever he wants, and so he knows the process and doesn't really. He doesn't really get too hangry in the morning. Now in the afternoon, if he hasn't had a good lunch and has just had crappy couple crackers for a snack, and he comes home, we're like, "Why is he so pissed off?" And Kim's like, "Cause he's hungry." I'm like, "Let's feed him, shove
Get
it
him
down his face
now.
quick." So,
you'll ruin his dinner. I don't care.
So dinner is a different story completely.
What's his favorite breakfast food?
Pancakes. Eggos pancakes, the mini ones. He loves those. Yeah, and he will chow down on those. He did a new record of like 8 the other day.
Oh my god!
Whoa! Usually about 5 or 6 are normal. 5 is pretty normal these days. But the other day he was on a growth thing, a spurt or something, because he was like, more. So I was like, you already had 6. He's like, more. Shove them more down. And plus all his milk, and so he loves him some Eggo pancakes. Nice. Yeah, and then Cheerios and chocolate Chex mixed together, like a combo of those. Because Dad likes chocolate Chex and he likes Cheerios, so we kind of sneak in our own little concoction.
That's fun.
And then that's his go-to for breakfast cereals. And then Fridays we have Dunkin' Friday. We go to Dunkin' Donuts on Friday morning before school and sit there, and he gets a Blue Titans donut. And Dad gets a caramel macchiato.
And then you pass them off.
Yeah, then you pass the sugar rush kid.
Some people put Tylenol on their kids before daycare. You put a donut in it before daycare.
Well, see you later.
It has icy blue sprinkles, too.
Oh, man, Dunkin' Donuts. I used to eat, I'm not going to lie, 6 donuts every morning.
Oh, man.
And that is why I've got this. So I had to stop.
But they were good.
The chocolate sprinkled. are the best.
If I eat one donut, I get a headache. It's like I'm like, oh, it's too much sugar. I
Oh
don't
no,
enjoy
man,
this.
Dunkin'. Oh, I loved it. And
I mean, I love them. I just
all my
feel
managers
awful.
were like, "You're gaining a lot of weight."
And then as you're shoving donuts in your mouth, you're like, this is why I
Stop
eat
it.
donuts.
Yeah, who brought these? Dang it. Yeah.
Justin, it has your name on the outside of the box.
Shut up.
That's not what I asked. Anyway, here's an opportunity. Do you want to promote your Instagram or anything like that? Like, how can we find you on Spotify? How can we find you on Instagram if you want to follow your music or your stories, you know?
Easy enough. Website's masondouglasmusic.com, masondouglasmusic.com, and got all the socials on there as well as all the music stuff. If you guys want to hear what I do, that's, there's, like I said, all the recent stuff, but there's plenty of material written by all those other people, some country stuff on there, some rock, all kinds of crazy stuff. Music side. Also, if anybody knows any good thoughts or directions on marketing an app to local community of tourists and residents, then I'm in the market for that as well.
Sweet.
But I just I listen to you guys and know y'all now and enjoy the Saturday walk. So I appreciate you letting me come on and talk and hang out and be part of it. So it's been awesome.
Yeah.
We should get all three of them together sometime.
All three of our kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
And they're all like.
I mean, technically on a dad walk, they are all three together.
Well, I'm talking about hanging out so then we can hang out.
I think I told you about a week or two ago. I asked Declan. I said, "Who's your girlfriend?" He goes, "Ada."
Oh, does Ada know that?
No, I'm joking. No, I will not tell her.
He's gonna have to have a little chat with Declan.
Hey, you.
Before they go to the playground.
That's right.
Before they go to the tube slide.
Nah. Declan's a good kid.
So far he is, yeah.
So far, there's still time.
He's got a little attitude. That's the only thing.
Ada does too.
And everything is mine. So,
Yep.
Except for everything.
Except for everything.
Anyway, thanks so much for being on an episode.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks again for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Nashville Dads and to subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify podcast. We record at New Light Podcast Studio and episodes are produced by me, Devin.